everyone again. Hi. Good. So, thank you all for coming to this final plenary of the day. I hope you still have a bit of caffeine and adrenaline with you for those who have started this early this morning. What we're going to do now in this plenary is something also more relaxed. We are going to have a few presentations of the cutting-edge research productions on the field of policy diffusion and development cooperation. We are going to talk about different books, special issues, and other kinds of publications that have been released either this year or the last year by speakers, colleagues, and other people that are attending the conference. So the dynamic is going to be a bit different. We're going to have 2 slides or 3 slides presentations, and I'm going to sit here and moderate this plenary session. And after the session, we are going to have the most important moment of the day, which is the cocktail. And I know that you have been waiting all for this moment. And the cocktail is going to be downstairs at the restaurant. And at that moment, you're going to have contact with all authors. You can ask all difficult questions to them and take a look at the books and other issues that have been released. So I think this is it for the announcements. I would like now to invite to start this plenary Magdaléna Hadjisky, Leslie Paul, and Chris Walker, who are authors of this very stimulating and interesting book called Public Policy Transfer, Microdynamics and Macro Effects. So thank you all for being here and for presenting the book.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Les. So I might stand up because I'm easy standing up. So I've prepared 2 slides. So thanks, Osmani. Thanks for the opportunity for us to talk about our book, and we will be as succinct as we can. So I'm Chris, I'm from Australia, we've got Les from Canada, Magdaléna from France, so it's a great international collaboration. Our contributors were also from quite a diverse range of countries, so it was a fantastic opportunity for us to work together and look at different cases of policy transfer experience. And like the title of the book says, we were really interested in some of that micro-analysis, but then how do you bring that up to a larger context to understand what's happening within a global and sort of transnational context. So if you just press the next slide. Oh, okay. I shall speak into it. And look, I've just got a slide on the chapter structure just to give you an insight to the bit of the book. So we had a session on sections on bringing the local actors in. Then we had international and transnational actors, and we had a very interesting introduction, a very interesting conclusion. So the Magdaléna has a copy of the book here, and there's some flyers around as well from Edward Elgar. And I'm going to ask Magdaléna, she's going to speak a little bit about some of the findings from the book. See if you can make it work.
Yeah, the purpose of the book was really to have very different case studies from very different part of the world, but with one common methodology, which is to pay attention to microprocesses and actors' configurations. So, and this was really, for us, very stimulating collective work. we started in Milan in a big conference, and we continue in a small workshop in Strasbourg. And I think that Osmani, who was author, Céline, who is somewhere maybe, who is also Carolina. Céline Mavro is not here. Carolina, who is here also, remembers this collective brainstorming in a way. Okay, we started with the questions and the criteria identified by David Dolowitz and David Marsh in their articles, and we tried to go on and to maybe nuance a little bit their findings thanks to our methodology. So in the conclusion, we try to summarize some of the findings of these case studies, and we found that we have to add one criteria to the how, the who, the what is transferred, and the type of transfers and constraints. It's maybe the how it is transferred, because some case studies showed very clearly that the same time of advice or of model of instrument in the same country or with the same local actors using different methodologies, different approach of these local actors and of the learning process will have different results, different results, different process. So we wanted to add this how criteria, exactly the methodology, the strategy used by the transfer entrepreneurs, with attention between two modalities, two opposite modalities of transfer: technocratic diffusion of standardized model at one point, and versus contextualized and decentralized assistance for the elaboration of tailor-made reform. So this, of course, a lot of methodologies and strategy are somewhere in the middle of this axis. And finally, something about constraints. Our case studies, maybe it's because of the times we are living in nowadays, some of our case studies showed the role of resistance to policy transfer, coupled with translation and adaptation. Transfer can be, because several of our chapters noted that compliance to the transfer regime was often minimal, more a matter of signaling that I am in, for example, in the EU accession, or more broadly in aid regimes. A transfer can be a theater, a pantomime. But often this resistance can be also invisible, more subtle. And one key advantage of the method used in the case studies is to reveal these tensions, in the negotiations, for example, and about the terms of engagement, about also the translation of the different terms of the model. And really to conclude, because I'm too long certainly, I'm sorry, our conclusion, we wrote this conclusion during the beginning of the Brexit, if I can say like that, during the vote in Great Britain. So we ask ourselves, why do we continue to think about policy transfers in a context marked by a growing defiance against supranational ideas and flows? So our question becomes, under what conditions can policy transfer occur without generating rejection and misunderstanding also sometimes? So we thought, and this is the last sentence of the book, we need to give more importance to local context and to common people more than to elite policymakers, and need to acknowledge that policy transfers may sometimes reshape political interests and coalitions, that we know that, but also the historical representations linked to the institutions which are changing, historical representation of the good, of the common, in other words, identities. Thank you.